My name, for those of you who don't know, is Adam Montandan, and today I'm your public speaking coach, and I'm going to share with you some of the tips and tricks that me and my friends use to speak with impact. Does this sound good? Thumbs up if this sounds good. Let's see. Oh, Sarah's right there with the nodding and everything. Lovely, lovely, wonderful. Maria's got the virtual thumbs up. Great, great, great. It's so nice to see all of you. And hopefully you can see my screen, right? You can all see a big, beautiful PowerPoint with a nice, fancy logo. I say fancy. It's just a couple of fonts in a nice different color, but there we go. And Maria's looking already thinking, I could redo that graphic design for sure. But anyway, what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you through some of the things that we do behind the scenes at Speakers Impact Network, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. And I'm going to share with you 6 little stories about 6 interesting people, some of whom are on the call right now. So we can bring them up in just a moment. And I'm going to show you all sorts of tips and tricks. And the best part is, right at the very end, we're going to have some questions and answers. And as always, I do give away a prize for whoever's got the best question. So if you've got a notepad or pen and paper, write down your best question, because I really want to hear it. The best, most interesting question. I'll be honest, I get the same questions all the time. So if you ask me something that I've never been asked before, there's a high chance that you'll win this prize. So this is serious, and this is getting competitive today. Also, something that I'm trying for the first time ever is, hopefully this is going to be super interactive, and how I've got this all set up is you can type stuff into the chat if you have a chat window, and I'll ask you to type different things into the chat as we go. And not only will I see them, but hopefully when you type different things into the chat, I'll be able to send you some freebies and interesting things directly into your inbox. So if you see something and you'd like to know more about it, you just type, "Hey Adam, tell me more about this thing," and I'll send you extra files, extra downloads, extra bonuses, and I've got all kinds of fun stuff as we go, as we spend the next about hour or so together. Does this sound good? Nice. Okay, good. I'm excited. I hope you are excited too. Wonderful, wonderful. Let me get ready then. Okay, so let's get started today. So you're already on this little journey to become better speakers. And by considering how you might improve your communication, it means you're taking this step on this journey with me. And sometimes I get 2 different kinds of people who come on this journey with me. And one group of people are, I like to call, the sitter backers, and the other group of people are the leaner forwarders. It's not a very elegant name, but maybe you're the kind of person who's just going to sit back and just sort of absorb the information, and maybe you're a lean forwarder and you're super interested and you really want to pull absolutely everything out. Now, I'll be honest with you, you get a lot more out of this if you are a lean forwarder than a sitter backer. But please type in the chat right now, are you a lean forwarder today, or are you going to be a sit backer? Are you going to be chilling and relaxing like this is your favorite Netflix series, or are you going to be really taking absolutely everything that you can from this session? Write for me, lean forward or sit back in the chat. Let me know whilst I have a lovely cup of English tea here. Ah, Randy's thinking outside of the box. I like it. Maria's leaning forward. Lena's leaning forward. Oh, lovely to see so many leaning forward. Okay, wonderful. So, for those of you who are leaning forward, I'm going to share with you my biggest secrets and how you can make use of them. And for those of you who are sitting back, well, you can just relax whilst I tell you a little story. So my journey with public speaking, because I know there's a lot of people on here that don't know me or are meeting me for the first time. So hi, nice to see you. My journey started years ago when I became a teacher, which essentially meant that I was presenting to audiences every single day. And I started to teach in a very interesting and weird and wonderful and dangerous and ridiculous way, because that's the kind of person that I am, because everything sounds just a little bit more dangerous with a British accent. Have you ever noticed that? All of the bad guys in all of the Hollywood movies, they all have a baddie with a British accent. Even in The Lion King, when they're in the middle of the jungle, Scar, the evil villain, has an English accent. I don't know quite how he got his English accent. But anyway, what it allowed me to do was to allow me to do all kinds of crazy and unusual things with my students, where I teach. And one of the things that was wonderful was I was invited all over the place to speak about how I thought about teaching and what I was working with my students. And it turned out that maybe, I think it's something like 10 or 11 years ago now, I was invited to Linz, to Austria, to give a TED talk on the stage with the famous letters in the background. And I spoke for 18 minutes about teaching and my students and what I was doing and all of this wonderful stuff. And I've got to tell you, even though I've spoken 100,000 times before, this was terrifying. This was really, really terrifying. I'd worked for about 6 months to put together this 18-minute talk. I practiced it 100 times, and I had some of the ambassadors from TED helping me out. I had all kinds of training, all kinds of help. And you can find this talk online, and you can find it on my website. And people will usually give you that bit of advice that says, if you feel a little bit nervous, just take in a big deep breath. Well, I have to tell you, if you find this video, in the first 3 seconds when I walk on the stage, you'll hear me not just taking a big deep breath, but taking a breath and literally sucking all of the air out of the room. There was no oxygen left by the time I was finished. I was so nervous. This was probably the second most nervous moment of my life. And I won't tell you the first, but maybe that will wait for the questions and answers section. Who knows? And although it was terrifying, it was completely brilliant. I had the most fun that I had ever had. Here I was talking to hundreds of different strangers who really cared about what I had to say. And without a word of a lie, every single email that I received for the next 6 months or so was, "Hey Adam, I saw your TED talk and I was just wondering." So it was wonderful how many people it reached. But then something incredible happened, something that I really did not expect. Many months later, I got on a video call just like this with one of the organizers in Austria for another TED event. And they said, "Adam, we loved your first talk. Will you come back and do another one, a sequel?" Wow, I'm flattered. Yeah, I would love to. And I looked in my diary and I thought, I know what to do. I can work for 6 months, make the 18 minutes, do the thing. Yep, no problem. So I said, yeah, sure, I would be happy to do a TED talk in 6 months or a year's time. And they looked at me through the video call and they said, "Oh no, we don't want you to do it in 6 months or a year's time. We want you to do it for our event next week." And the color just dropped from my face. I went completely white. And what I wanted to say was, "Oh my God, are you completely insane? There's no way I can do it." But the words that came out of my mouth were, "Sure, I guess." So the next thing I know, I find I'm putting together 6 months of work in just 7 days. And this is terrifying. And I'm working through my process, but this time I know what I'm doing. This time I'm a lot more organized. And here it is. This is me just 7 days later in Austria giving another talk that was absolutely fantastic. And imagine what you could do in 7 days when you know what you're doing. It's incredible what you can achieve. And when I think about it, 7 days, I figured it out, it's 168 hours if you work non-stop with no sleep. But that's suicide. Nobody wants to work non-stop with no sleep. So if you sleep about 8 hours a day, which is a sort of recommended healthy limit, that gives you about 112 hours in a week. But what I found is if you work on something for about 100 hours, you can do something really, really good. And then you've got 12 hours just to take a break in your busy week. So this is about 100 hours worth of work crammed into 18 minutes. And people often ask me, "Adam, is there something quick that we can do? Is there something instant?" And you can do something quick if you've got about 100 hours to spend. That's how you can go from idiot with zero idea to somebody who is ready to stand on the TED stage with a talk memorized and everything like that. And 7 days of hard work isn't that bad, or it wasn't that bad for me at least. And I want to tell you why. Because I'd never worked this hard on anything before. And I thought the end result was that I'd get up on stage, do a talk, everybody would clap, and then I would go home. Brilliant, job done. But the truth is something much bigger happened that I could not expect. And I want you to imagine this happening to you, because I could never imagine this happening to me. I gave the talk and everything's fine. And then just as I'm walking through the audience, a man at the back of the audience just grabs me by the arm and said, "I really like what you just said. Could you come to California and say it to my friends Larry and Sergey?" And I was like, "Larry and Sergey, why does that sound familiar?" And he said, "Oh, you know, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the CEOs of Google." And my jaw dropped, and I thought, instead of saying, "What, are you crazy?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And the next thing I know, I'm on a plane, I'm in California, I'm riding the Google bus and eating all of the free snacks and presenting to Larry Page and Sergey Brin the exact same talk that I created in just 7 days. It was powerful, they loved it, they enjoyed it. And Larry Page and Sergey Brin said to me afterwards, "There's somebody else that needs to hear this talk. Can you get on another plane and tell this to somebody else?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Where are we going to?" And they said, "Washington." And so the next thing I know, just a few days later, there I am at the US Department of Education giving the exact same talk. 7 days worth of work for all of this impact. And I want to be really clear. There's lots of people who will say, "Oh, I like public speaking for money. I like to earn money as a speaker." But that is nothing in comparison to the impact that you can have. Imagine working on something for 7 days and then having this kind of level of global impact. So I was so excited by this, and I had such an amazing time. I wanted to share it with other people. So I got even more involved with TED Talks and TEDx. And now one of the things that I do is I curate TEDx Odense, which is based in the big city where I am right now in Denmark. And I help different TEDx events all over the world. One of my favorites to help was TEDx in Barbados. Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. You can only imagine. And what I like to do is I like to listen to and audition hundreds of different speakers and choose who gets the spot on the stage and help them speak correctly, help them speak in the right way, help them speak in a way that will get impact, especially if they've never spoken before, and especially if English is their second language, and especially if they're super shy. Oh my gosh, I love it, because when they get onto that stage, it's insane. And it's allowed me as a speaker to travel the world, to host award shows, to be all over the place, and it's absolutely wonderful. So can I ask, would you like to do something like this? Would you like to get your message out and in front of millions of people? If you would, just type yes in the comments. Just type a big yes if this is something that you would like to do. Lots of yeses coming up there. Wonderful. So everyone's saying yes, yes, yes. Wonderful. I love it. And one of the things that I need to tell you right off the bat as we start is that I wish there were some shortcuts. There aren't really shortcuts. It's just hard work. But time and experience will get you so far. But if you have the right training, you can sidestep some of that time. You can make the best use of the time. You can make the best use of other people's experience and speed it up completely. So by the time we finish today, you're going to be a little bit better speaker. But the more time that we spend together, the better you're going to become. Does that make sense? Thumbs up if that makes sense. Cool. Good, good, good. Okay, cool. So one of the really smart things that I did, especially after COVID and lockdown and nobody was speaking in front of anything, was I made a really nice website called the Speakers Impact Network, where hundreds of people can come together and share different ideas about their speaking. They can learn and they can train and work together and learn lots of secrets and do lots of really nice things, because I wanted to make a great online environment for different people around the world. And I started off with lots of people, and now what I do is I pick just 60 people every year to train in the Speakers Impact Network and really get them to do something interesting. And what I'm going to do is, instead of me telling you how to do it, I'm going to tell you how other people in my network have been through the things that you might be going through and how they overcame their problems. So we're going to meet 6 different people and learn from them. Does that sound good? Thumbs up if that sounds good. Cool. So I know you want to become better speakers, and I know that the more that you listen, the more that you'll become a better speaker. The more you listen, the more you're going to learn. the more you realize how simple it is, the more it is that you want to work on it even more. And the more value I give you, the more I know that you want to improve. So I hope that this is going to be a process that's going to take you a little step closer towards your dream, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. That's my ambition for you today. And I'm going to show you the first person who started a long way from his dream, and this is Simon. This is Simon, young Simon. Oh, I love this picture of him. And I met Simon. Simon came into my Speakers Impact Network right before COVID. And he's a scientist, but he's got the weirdest job you could ever imagine as a scientist. He spends so much time, as you can see, he's pictured with a cow right here, so much time going around in mud and manure on farms, and his idea of fun as a scientist is going around and testing all of the chemicals in pig poop and cow manure and horse manure and all of the ammonia levels and everything. And for some reason, he chose that as his career. Now, I'm not here to judge, but this is a terribly boring job. It's terribly cold, especially in the Danish wintertime, and the amount of rubber boots that he has lost out in the field is crazy. And he came to me and he said, I'm doing all this research and then I'm presenting it in front of people. And whenever I say, do you want to hear my research about the ammonia levels of pig poop? Everybody glazes over. Nobody wants to hear it. No matter how much of a good scientist I am, I can't get people to care about my story. And I thought, okay, I'm really going to help you here. And what happened was, where he was going wrong was he was just talking about his work to other people. And that's probably the most boring thing that you can do, talking about your work to other people. That's not a great thing to do at parties. It's not a great thing to do at dates. But we all do it from time to time. We all say what our job is. But it turns out it's listening to what other people's jobs are really, really boring. So what Simon did was we did an exercise where he would have conversations with other people, where he would explain to me and to other members of the network exactly what it is that he was doing, and then get those other people to say it back to him. And then one day he was talking about detecting all of these chemicals, but instead of detecting these chemicals on the ground, he thought maybe he could put a satellite up in space to detect chemicals. And so somebody said to him, do you mean you can detect pig poop from outer space? And he said, yeah, sure. And as soon as he started to tell that story, I'm the guy who can detect pig poop from outer space, people started to listen. It started to become interesting. And this might sound silly, but the more that he got people interested in it by pulling things in, something incredible happened. So this is Simon just a couple of years ago, and this is what he looks like now. And he hosts so many panels and he does so many talks because he becomes so interesting in what he does and how he explains his work that he wrote to me just a couple of weeks ago and he said, Adam, I've got a problem. I need to turn down all of the speaking engagements that I'm getting because I'm getting too many. I've just been asked to fly to the Middle East to do a presentation about detecting pig poop from space. How do I respectfully turn them down? I can't handle all of these places that I'm being asked to speak at. This is incredible, from being someone who nobody would listen to being somebody who's an accomplished science speaker by finding the ways that science is smart and by finding the ways that other people talk about science to you. Now, if you want to do this, the best thing that you can do, if you're ever having to talk about your job or you're worried that something is boring, talk to a friend, or even better, talk to a stranger and get them to tell you your story back. They'll cut out all of the boring stuff and only give you the most exciting things. If you haven't got a friend or you haven't got a stranger, call up your grandmother. Granny is always happy to hear from you. Explain to Granny what you're doing and then call her back a week later and say, hey Granny, what was it we were talking about last time? And if Granny can remember it a week later, it's interesting. If Granny forgot it, forget about it. But maybe you haven't got a granny. Maybe you want something else. Maybe you want a nice, easy tip. So one of the things that I've also done as part of our Speakers Impact Network, something that I know has helped Simon, is I created a little card game. And I have 50 different cards with different questions and different things that you can ask yourself that might make a boring story more engaging. And the best thing is, not only have I made this card game for you, I've made it as a PDF that you can download and print, and as if by magic, hopefully, if you check your email right now, you should have a little email from me. It will be from info@speakersimpact.com, I hope, and you might find a little link where you can get all of the instructions of how to use this card game, and you can print your own version, and it should be right there. Give me a thumbs up if it's come through on your email. I hope it's come through. Oh yes, nice, that's good. If you haven't found it yet, maybe it's gone to your junk mail or your spam folder or something. Find it, make sure it's whitelisted, because I'm going to send you a few more surprises, because, we're 20 minutes in and already I've sent you something quite nice as a nice little surprise. So I hope that's come through in your inbox. Now, the next thing. This is a toughie. This is a great question that I got from Oana Antonescu, and it's a very common question. Oana works at the Danish Cancer Research Institute, and she really needs tips to build confidence and beat nervousness and stop stress. Because when you're a scientist and you're working with finding various cures for cancer, and you speak to the press, to the newspaper, oh my gosh, it gets blown out of all proportion. You make one little step forward and the newspapers will promote it like it's a huge leap. There's so much that can go wrong. And can you imagine presenting in meetings when your boss might be one of the most famous cancer scientists in the world? You'd be terrified to say the wrong thing. And Oana and people like her ask me these questions. And just by a show of hands, just raise your hands. Do you ever get like a bit nervous or a bit freaked out when you're speaking? Maybe when you're speaking in a meeting or you've got to talk to your boss. Who gets that little uncomfortable feeling on the back of their neck when it's come through? Okay. Quite a few of you. It does happen. So there's 3 little things that you can do to become a little bit more confident. And the first one is a big mindset one. Write this one down. I want you to write down that you need to know everybody is on your side. Write that down. Everybody is on your side. Everybody wants you to succeed. You never go to a comedy club and turn to the person next to you and say, I hope this next comedian is really terrible. No one ever goes to a conference and says, I hope this next speaker gets his PowerPoint all messed up. Nobody goes to a meeting and goes, oh, I really hope this is a boring meeting. Everybody wants you to succeed. Everybody is rooting for you. So even if you do make a mistake, know that your audience will probably forgive you. Another thing that you can try, if you get a little bit nervous, does anybody get like physical nerves? Like maybe you get the shakes, or your leg wobbles, or your voice goes a little bit croaky just before a big presentation? Raise your hand if that happens to you. If you get some like physical side, yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. And a great way to get around it is you can practice what's called visual breathing. It's really simple. All you do is you breathe in a nice big deep breath, and as you breathe in, you imagine a nice positive color coming in through the oxygen, and then as you breathe out again, imagine like a more dark negative color coming out. So you can almost imagine that you're sort of like a fire-breathing dragon or something. So whatever color means positivity to you, you want to breathe it in, and whatever means negativity, imagine that negativity leaving the body as you breathe out. It's really simple. You can do it anywhere. You just find a quiet spot and do it for a few minutes whenever you're feeling nervous. And whilst breathing will help you, it will help with your heart rate, it will help with your nerves. Having this extra visualization will help you, especially if you're a creative thinker and you're so busy worrying about everything. When you focus on the color of your breath, it will be a lot better. And the third thing to do, and this is a really nice sneaky thing, if you ever find yourself at an event where you've got to speak to, I don't know, hundreds of people and you don't know any of them and you're terrified. Maybe you're at a big conference or a big event somewhere. I've found myself in this situation quite a few times where maybe you're on the other side of the world. It's scary. So what I like to do is I like to find a little fan club. And what I mean by that is before your event has started, go and find a group of friendly people, 5 or 6 people who are maybe outside having a cup of coffee or waiting to get in or something like that. And you have to say, excuse me, I'm one of the speakers. I'm speaking at 2 o'clock and I'm really nervous. And you look like a bunch of friendly people. Will you be my little fan club? And just when I'm on stage, just give me a really loud cheer. And they'll be so impressed with your vulnerability, they'll say, oh, yeah, of course, no problem. And then you say, if you could sit at the front so I could see you, that would be great as well. And what's brilliant is then you'll sort of forget about it. And then when it's your turn to talk, as you walk on stage, you'll see these 5 people down the front and they'll be, that's our guy, that's the one, we're cheering for him, woo! And they'll give you an extra big cheer just to make you feel happy. And oh my goodness, if you feel nervous and then you have a little fan club, number 1, it takes away all the nerves. And number 2, everybody else in the audience is like, what the heck is going on? This person must be some big celebrity or something. So I can highly recommend having a little fan club. Now, another nice thing that we can do is I have got so much stuff about confidence and stopping stress and beating nerves. I've made a PDF file that's got 10 great tips to beat nerves and gain confidence. And if you'd like it, just type yes in the comments and I'll make sure that you get it. And for those of you, I noticed a couple of people have said maybe their email's not working or they haven't yet received the email. It should be there very, very soon. And if not, we'll sort it out later on, or I'll send you another copy again. Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, lots of yeses for that. Okay. For those of you who are typing yes, hopefully by the power of magic and my amazing assistant Anna, it should be in your email very, very soon, or your email might be pinging already. Now, would you like to meet somebody else as well? We've met Simon. Let's meet somebody, and I think he's on the call, so I hope he will forgive me for this. Let's meet Dieter. Dieter, are you here? Let's see. Oh, yes, he is. Wonderful. So I didn't ask Dieter if I could do this before, so this is a big shock for him, so I apologize. But one big question that I get a lot of the time is when people see professional speakers adding jokes or adding fun or making themselves look cool or making themselves look different, and then I see amateur speakers trying to do the exact same thing, trying to be a bit more cool, trying to be a bit more fun. So have you fallen into this trap? Like, raise your hand if you've ever secretly dreamed of being a bit of a comedian, a bit more fun when you're presenting. Like, oh, maybe I should tell a joke to win them over. Have you ever had that thought coming through? Petra, I can see, is laughing her head off already. She knows. Okay, we all do it, or we all get tempted with it. And oftentimes, if we think, I know, I'll win the audience over with a good joke, we realize very soon that we are not comedians, and we tell the joke that we think is funny, and we realize it's completely fallen flat. Now, I hope this has never happened to you, but it has definitely happened to your drunk uncle at a wedding. And you've all been to that wedding where there's that one drunk uncle who thinks he's a comedian and stands up and gives a big speech, and everybody is just looking at their watch and thinking, oh my God, what is going on here? It's a disaster. I like to call it the Michael Scott effect, if you've ever seen The Office, where you're trying to be funny. It's just not happening. And Dieter is a great example of that, because Dieter is a fantastic guy. He's working for a really big company and he's leading a lot of people, and he's trying to get people engaged in the meeting. And Dieter, I hope it's okay if I say this, but before we met, he had a big presentation, and Dieter told me he literally got almost booed off the stage because he couldn't engage the audience, and he just couldn't keep them with him. He couldn't keep them engaged, and he thought, well, maybe if I make some jokes, or what's the secret to doing it? But the truth is, it's not about making jokes. You don't want to turn into Michael Scott. You don't want to turn into a comedian. That's not you. You don't work on your jokes. You work on your character. Write that down. You don't work on your jokes. You work on your character. You need to know what your strengths and your weaknesses are. Because here's why. The only way to give an interesting talk is to live an interesting life. The only way to give an interesting talk is to live an interesting life. Sad to say it, boring people give boring talks, interesting people give interesting talks. So to be a better speaker, you have to become a more interesting person. And you have to become an interesting person, you have to really know who you are. Are you a person who's just surviving the talk? Or are you somebody who is absolutely acing it, doing everything perfect and having an amazing time? Imagine how that feels. You can tell the difference between when a hero stands up to speak and when somebody who's just trying to survive stands up to speak. And how I helped Dee to do this is we went through lots of different exercises, and one that can really help us figure out who we are. And if you can see him on the screen, I think on his background you can see some of the words that people use to describe him. If you can scroll down, I know some people are on phones, maybe you can't see Dieter, but I can see he's got, helpful, he's got the rent-a-tainer, he's got friendly, all of these big words. And we had to go through together and figure out how you figure out these words. And a great way to figure out who you are is you can play this game. And it's a little game, we can play it in the chat window now. It's called I am X but not Y. And you can use a lot of different phrases to describe yourself where you say, I am this, but I am not that. So you might say, I am strong, but not aggressive. You might say, I am smart, but not arrogant. I am clever, but not nerdy. I am funny, but not a clown. I am caring, but not a pushover. See if you can think of one right now and write your one in the comments now. Are you brave, but not stupid? What are you and what are you not? Have a little think. Write it in the comments. I would love to see your answers. Sarah has a nice one. I'm kind but not a pushover. Wonderful. Jacob has, I'm innovative but not Bill Gates. Brilliant. Fleming, I'm an extrovert but not brave. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing these. This is wonderful. Now, some of you can find these really, really quickly. Some of you might take a longer time to figure it out. But when you go through this process and many more, it can be really fun. And I want to show you the level of depth that we go into at Speaker's Impact and the process that Dieter has been through. So I took some little screenshots of what he's been up to behind the scenes. Hope it's okay that I show this. And let me see. Let's move on to the next one. So everybody on Speaker's Impact Network has their own personal page that looks a bit like this, where they can see exactly what it is that they're working on, how they're working, where they're improving, and where they want to put their attention. So this is a little overview, but we can zoom in and it will look like this. And you can see right here, we have this whole section called Level 2, Build Your Character. And on this, you'll notice we've got not just one exercise, but 17 different exercises that you can go through to help build up your character, to find out who you are so that you can be more engaging on the stage. And when you click on it, Each one will have something like this where they'll get a video, there's some text, and there's lots of stuff you can see down the left-hand side, all kinds of different examples and fun things that you can click on. And this is the process that Dieter went through to really enhance his speaking skills by knowing who he is better and to become a more genuine, more authentic person. So well done, Dieter, for surviving all of this. And this is what everybody on Speakers Impact Network goes through. So remember, it's not just about what you say, but who you are that says it is just as important. So this is something to bear in mind. Is this useful? Is this helpful? Thumbs up if this is useful. Yeah, okay, great. Now, I want to share with you another really fun one. I'm really excited for this. This is so fun. So this next member is Bilitis, and Bilitis is a really good person who's been part of our Speakers Impact Network for over a year. And what is brilliant about her is how she has changed her use of body language. Body language is so important. We communicate so much through body language, whether we're on stage or whether it's virtual, through a screen, whatever. And when I first met Bilitis, she was quite shy. And she would be a little bit hunched and make herself a little bit small. And now that she's got more confidence, she's out and she's wild and she's jumping up and down. And what's phenomenal is you can listen to how her body language affects the way that she speaks. And what happens is the more that you move your body, it's not just about communicating things with your fingers, but it's also what it can do to your voice and your tone of voice. So if you're brave enough, will you try a little exercise with me? This is definitely for the leaner forwards. Sitter backers, you're going to be out of your comfort zone. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to say a sentence, but I'm going to ask you to move your body in slightly different ways and just see how it feels with your voice. Thumbs up if you're ready to do this. You ready to do this? Okay, good. Taking a leap out of your comfort zone. Randy's not so sure. He's making his mind up. Oh, okay. So the phrase that we're going to say is, I am a confident communicator. Nice and easy to say, but the first time that I want you to say it, I want you to make yourself as small as possible, as hunched over as possible, and just to make yourself really, really small, and then look down a little bit into your hands and say, I am a confident communicator. Just try it out loud. I am a confident communicator. You can whisper it if there's people next door. I am a confident communicator. It doesn't sound great, does it? I can see Maria's laughing her head off at how diabolical it sounds. It doesn't sound great. But now, if we sit up straight in a more normal pose and we say, I am a confident communicator. I am a confident communicator. Give it a try, just sat up normally. Yeah, it's no big deal. Nice and easy. It sounds a lot better than being hunched up. But now what I want you to do is I want you to get really tough and really exaggerated. I want you to take one hand and place it up like this. I want you to take another hand and make a fist, and I want you to be really aggressively tough, and I want to see, I am a confident communicator. I am a confident communicator. I am a confident communicator. And what it does to your voice, it's so much because you're moving your arms around. You're pushing air out, extra out of your lungs. You can't whisper it. You can't go, I am a confident communicator. It just doesn't work. So how you move your body really affects how you speak. So if you want to speak with confidence, stand with confidence, walk with confidence, move with confidence, don't be afraid of waving your arms all over like you're landing an aircraft or something. Just do it. Just have fun with it. And if somebody says, oh, you're waving your arms around too much, don't say, oh, no, that's terrible. You say, yeah, of course I'm waving my arms around and I sound awesome. There's a reason why Mariah Carey, when she hits the high notes, does all this business with her hand with this woo business. It's because how you move affects how you sound. So channel your inner Mariah or your inner Obama or whoever it might be to get your message across in a really fun way. Okay, lovely. Now, the next person that I want to introduce you to, this is a little bit of a different story, and I hope that this will reach you in a really nice way. This is Becky. And Becky and people like Becky often come to me with this wonderful question about how can you handle the most difficult or challenge or questions, or sometimes when we get in front of an audience, we're really afraid that the audience is going to challenge us. They're going to ask us something that we don't know. And for Becky, this is incredibly important. Becky is just a regular mom. And she has a kid who's really special, and her kid has autism. And she figured out that where she lived in her area, there was a lot of support for kids with autism. That was great. But there wasn't enough stuff for the parents of kids with autism, or the brothers of kids with autism, or the sisters of kids with autism. And it was great to support the patient, but it wasn't so great to support the whole family. And she was a very emotionally attached person to her topic, because of course every time you have to stand up and talk about the challenges that your family has been through, or the difficulties in what it's like to take a severely autistic kid to a restaurant and it be very noisy and overwhelming, and the amount of times that she had struggled, and all she wanted to do was make the world like a little bit of a better place for her kid, and a little bit of a better place for her family, and a little bit of a better place for other families just like her. And I think that this is a beautiful thing, and this is why it's really important when I talk about speaking with impact, that it's not about money, it's about the change that you can make to people's lives. And slowly, Becky is gaining the confidence to make more change. But maybe you've got a story that you've got to tell that is so deeply ingrained in you. Maybe you're terrified of telling it. Maybe you've got a story of abuse. Maybe you've got a story of a personal challenge. Maybe you've got a story of loss or of grief. And these stories are just as important as the big inspirational hip hip hooray stories. A feel bad story is just as important, just as valid as a feel good story. Now, when you get to this, it can be really tricky, because you're worried that any questions that are going to come at you could be aggressive, they could be offensive, they could be dismissive, or they could ask something that just makes you burst into tears. So here's how you challenge it. The first thing you need to know is that it's perfectly fine to answer a question with, I don't know, can I get back to you? That's the best answer that you can ever give. You don't have to feel like you have to answer every question right away. As soon as you have that, I don't know, can I get back to you, in your back pocket, that's like your get out of jail free card. If something too tricky comes up, acknowledge it, move on, and deal with it later. Another thing that can happen is we can be prepared for a lot of questions, but sometimes people will ask us stuff that's so left field. And if you're presenting yourself as an expert, you might not have the answer. So it's perfectly fine to say, you know what? I never thought of that. What you're asking me is so wild, I never thought of that. This is another thing that you can keep in your back pocket. And a third answer that you can give is if you're getting an aggressive question and you think that you're going to have to defend yourself, you can just say, that's a good point. What do you think about that? And you can throw a question right back. This is really good if you're in a political situation, or if you feel like you're being challenged by an enemy or a competitor. Now, one of the beautiful things about this is when you get these hard questions, don't just use these lines and then forget about them. You want to use these lines and then write down what the question was. Go back, think about it, and the next time you do a presentation, incorporate really great answers to those questions into your next presentation. And that means that every time that you give the presentation, no matter how challenging the questions are that you get, you've got an answer for them already built into your presentation. You give that presentation 3, 4, 5 times, there's nothing that anybody can ask you that will ever throw you off. And then you'll become invincible. It's absolutely wonderful. Now, I also have a little sneak as well. Does anyone ever get like a little bit afraid of judgment? Raise your hands if you're ever worried about the audience might judge you or something like that. Yeah, it happens all the time. And it happens a lot in academia when you have to present something and your teacher will judge your performance. And it happens a lot when you present in front of your boss. Your boss will judge your performance. And the judginess comes in the questions and answers. And there's a little trick that you can do. One of my favorite things, and maybe you've heard of this trick before, is instead of going straight to questions and answers, you tell everybody right at the start that there's a really good prize for whoever asks the most interesting question. And then everybody will be thinking of really interesting questions. And then when it comes to it, you can ask me the most difficult question in the world, but now I'm judging your question on whether it's interesting enough for me. So I've become the one who's now in control. And I'm highly recommending this. And as you see, that's exactly how I started the presentation when I said, I'm going to give a prize for the best question. So now hopefully you'll be thinking of really, really good questions and not really, really evil questions. Hopefully it changes things around, and if you do ask me something evil, well, you're probably not going to win the prize. So you can use this in any situation. And if you're in a meeting, whoever asks the nicest question gets the last donut, or whatever it is. You can use this and it will build confidence 100 times. Does that sound good? Thumbs up if that sounds good. And there is a real genuine prize. I didn't just make it up just to say it to wind you up. Now, another thing that we do that is really cool. If you're a person who likes lots of different sensations, raise your hand if you're somebody who's like maybe a visual learner, or you're a tactile kind of person, or you like smells, or you respond better to music or something like that, or more visuals. Okay, lots of hands going up. What you need and what I would recommend you make is something that we use called a confidence power pack. Everyone on our Speakers Impact Network has a chance to build their own power pack and take it with them wherever they need it. It could be a whole physical bag full of stuff, or it could be something that they keep in their pocket. It's a little bit too much to go into now, but if you would like, type in yes to confidence in the chat, and in your email should be a nice, lovely PDF that will explain exactly what goes into a confidence power pack, and you can make your own one, and it should be there. So please do type in yes to confidence. I know it says I will send you. It's Anna doing it really, really frantically. But okay, lovely. Yes to confidence. So that should be in your inbox in a couple of minutes, I hope. Now, there's the one last person that I want to introduce you to. And this last person is Hardik. And I really want to give him a massive shout out, because Hardik is based in India, and he joined me with my Speakers Impact Network because he wanted to present himself and his work in the best way, but nobody where he was really able to help him. He wasn't making the impact that he wanted to. He just had a newborn baby, and I'll be honest, COVID was hitting India really, really hard. And he just couldn't get in front of people. He couldn't get to practice. He didn't know what he was doing right, and he didn't know what he was doing wrong. Sure, he could read a few blog posts, he could Google a few things, but nobody would ever tell him where to improve, because every time he improved in front of his friends, every time he practiced speech in front of his friends would say, "Oh yeah, good job, great." And every time he would practice in front of his bosses or his colleagues, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, nice meeting presentation there." But he didn't get the advice that he needed. Imagine being in an environment where you can not only get the advice that you need, but you can see what everybody else is doing and see what advice they're getting. And not only do you watch yourself improve, you watch other people improve too. because sometimes there's stuff that we can see in other people that we don't see in ourselves. Have you ever noticed that? Any of you who are parents and you see, oh wow, our kids have grown up so fast, but we don't see how much we as adults have grown so fast as well? It happens all the time, and it happened to Hardik. And what he was doing was, because of the time zones in India, he was waking up in the middle of the night to join our Zoom calls. We have Zoom calls every 2 weeks on a Wednesday, and he'd be waking up in the middle of the night and being really quiet and whispering so that he wouldn't wake up his baby and his wife in the next room. And he was able to share with the group what he was working on and get all the right feedback and all the right help. And then 3 months in, he wrote to me and he said, Adam, I've got a problem. I need to change something. I've got a problem with money. I've got a problem with my credit card. And I thought, oh, Hardik, what's going on? I know India's been hit really hard. I know that the exchange rates are not good. And I know that you've made a big investment in being a speaker. And I thought, what's happened? Is his family really out of money? Are they really in trouble? And he said, no, the problem is I can't pay for it anymore. And I can't pay for my membership. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And he said, no, it's good news. And I said, what do you mean it's good news? You can't pay for your membership. This is terrible. And he said, I don't want anyone to, put themselves in financial ruin just for learning to speak. He said, no, I can't pay it anymore because my company wants to pay it. After 3 months of improving, they promoted me to the head of global communications for my company. I went from being so bad to being so good that now they're going to pay me to do it. I was like, wow, this is incredible. In the space of 3 months, having the right help and the right support, he could make something that was a big impact, not just for him, not just for his company, but for his family and for his new little baby as well. And I really loved his dedication and what you put in. And we have a massive amount of sort of return on investment when we speak. In fact, Warren Buffett, the big investor, one of the richest people in the world, says that the most important thing that he ever learned was not about investing, but was about public speaking. He wrote a really nice article about it. You can find that online and check it out. And I want to impress upon you, if you want to speak and present your work in the best way, you've got to get it out in front of people who can give you the right feedback. Whether it's a group like Speakers Impact Network, whether it's a group of friends, whether it's your family, whether it's your classmates, whether it's your colleagues, whatever it is, practice in front of people and get real feedback. Now, it's great to arrange. Set something up, no problem. Or if you have your calendars out, if you put these dates in your diary, 9th of March and 24th of March, and then every other Wednesday, that's when the Speakers Impact Network come online and we speak about different things and we give each other different advice for all kinds of different speaking. And because it's a trusted professional network where everybody has something to learn from each other, really helps us improve. And remember, you're speaking more than you think. It's not just about getting up on a TED Talk, standing on a round red dot and speaking. You're speaking in meetings. You're speaking in presentations. You're in job interviews. You're speaking online on Microsoft Teams or in Zoom or whatever it might be. You're speaking on dates. You're speaking to your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, your family, everything. So you're speaking all the time. When you improve this skill in one area, it improves it in all of the areas. So to present your work in the best way is to get it out in front of as many people as possible and to take it as a serious investment for sure. So stick those dates in your diary. I hope you're free on Wednesday nights and I hope that you would like to come and join us. It is, of course, pay to play. You want to invest in your skills. You want to make sure that you're 100% committed to making an investment in your speaking skills, especially if you're a lean forwarder and someone who wants to take it. So these are the 6 people that I wanted to share with you, but I also want to really briefly share with you what I made to help all of you in Speakers Impact. And if you head on over to the website, you'll see that this is like a blended resource. This is not just one thing. This is not just download and watch a video or something like that. We have a professional support community of people who take speaking really, really seriously. We have our 2 group video calls every month. We have 7 different levels of learning, so you can level up your skills as you go. So if you're one of these people who has just 15 minutes on a lunch break, you can do 15 minutes on a lunch break. If you're somebody who wants to blitz through everything in a weekend, you can definitely do that. We have quick fixes for those little things that you just want to improve and get out of the way and forget. They're really useful. I also bring in lots of different experts, and we record video expert sessions that usually last from half an hour to an hour long with all kinds of different people, whether you're a science communicator, a business communicator, a charity communicator, a creative communicator, whatever it is. And you can watch those just like Netflix style anytime you want. Loads of printable stuff. I'm a big fan of writing things down. I love checklists. I love cards. I love stuff that you can get your hands on. And also we have a full resource archive with hundreds of hours of interesting and unusual content of all kinds of different topics related to public speaking in all of its forms. So it's really, really comprehensive. And you can just dive in and pick whatever you like. So this is what I like to do anyway. This is how I spend my time. And I'd like to ask you one last question. Are you ready to speak with impact? Is this something that you really want to do? If this is something that you really want to do, I've got a little nice thing for you. All you got to do, follow these instructions, super easy. If you go to speakersimpact.com right now, do it now, open it up in your browser, stick it in. Go. You will see the website and me jumping up and down, waving my arms around as per usual. And you can find out all about it. It will look something like this. And if you're on the website, click on the little button, the dreaded button that says pricing. It's usually in the top menu if you're on your desktop. Maybe it's a little bit different if you're on the phone. There's a little burger bar. But you see the pricing section. And when you clicked on that pricing section, maybe you'll notice something when you're there. There's a little countdown timer. Can you all see that little countdown timer? Should be set to midnight tonight. Can you see a little countdown? Yep. And by that countdown, it will say you have to order by the time it runs out to get all the bonus items mentioned in Adam's webcast today. And you're thinking, well, what bonus items? Because you've already sent some stuff. So what I thought I would do is I thought I would just give you tons and tons of extra, really cool, really valuable stuff for all of you who are leaning forward and all of you who are really wanting to take this improvement journey today. So I'll show you a little bit. The first 10 people, I've got something really special for you. If this is something that you fancy, if this is something that's right for you, I've already sent you in your inbox already the Gain Confidence and Beat Nerves PDF. You've already got how to build a confidence power pack. It should come through already. And you've probably already got your 50 printable speaker inspiration cards. But we're not going to stop there. The first 10 people who become members today will get 22 speaking confidence solutions. As an extra, you'll get my complete guide on how to create an origin story. So when you're talking about yourself in meetings, or they say, let's go through everything and see how it goes. Let's go through and introduce ourselves. It will be there. I'll also send you my document called How to Get to the Point. This is really useful if you've got a boss who waffles on in meetings and never gets to the point. You can print it out, leave it on his desk. I'll send you the 7 habits of highly effective speakers as well, which is super nice. I'll show you how to use ethos, logos, and pathos. I'll teach you how to find your personality in PowerPoint. I'll show you lots more stuff. I've got 20 tips for video conferencing if you find yourself on video conferencing. And my most fire extra is my confidence checklist, which is really something worth having. Now, I notice a few people haven't got their emails yet. Don't worry, Anna is on it frantically, and you will get them sort of within an hour after this is gone. Please do check in your spam folder or junk folder or something like that if it's not there. We'll go through everything to make sure that your inbox is full. And before we go to the questions and answers session, I want to make a promise to you, because now that we know each other a little bit better, I want to give you a real promise. My promise to you is you will become a better speaker. It's as simple as that. You will become a better speaker. No ifs, no buts, no coconuts. You can do it. You've got it in you. I've helped lots of people do it before, and I can help you do it for sure. If this is something that you're super interested in, then I'm here for you. If you're not ready, then that's perfectly fine too. But I just wanted to share this with you because in the spirit of giving and sharing, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. If you need to get a hold of me, or if you still haven't received your PDF downloads, send a little email to info@speakersimpact.com, and if you've got any questions, anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to know, and if you want to become a member, then you certainly can, and you can get those bonuses today if you would like. It's limited to the first 10 people, so don't wait around. Please don't wait around. And what I think we'll do is we're going to take a little 5-minute break because I desperately need to get another glass of water. So we'll come back in just 5 minutes past 5. So if there's any questions that you have, I'm really looking forward to who's got the best, most interesting question. And of course, we've got a prize for the most interesting question as well. So I'll see you back here at 5 minutes past 5, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, please do prepare your questions, and we can go for as long as you need with the questions. So I'll see you in just a moment.